Hey, I'm back. I got a little bit of a personal question for you. Don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I've been thinking about it. Why do you get out of bed every morning? Now, that can seem a little fishy. It's like, is this supposed to be kind of one of those, oh, nothing matters, what's the point kind of questions? However, it's not. This is a very serious question. People tend to only ask it when they are struggling with themselves or in life, trying to find meaning for things. That's really when the question, why do I wake up every day, comes out. But I think it's a question that you should ask regardless of whether or not you're going through a sort of internal or external crisis. Actually, I think it's a question you don't tend to ask, well, maybe in like a Hamlet sense, when you're going through an external crisis, because the answer is obvious, is you have to deal with this crisis. You got something in front of you got to get through and deal with. It's more so when times in life where your actions seem futile, you're not gaining anything, or you have essentially lost the plot. And I mean that in a real way. You have lost the plot. And I'm going to tie that into the importance of internal narrative. I think I've been dealing with a real issue for the last about year with my self-perception. And I have very complex metaphysical ideas on the self I don't really want to get into in this video because most people are going to disagree with them. I don't really think they're that important. I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to talk about that. I don't really want to talk about it because your opinion on what the self is and what it means and where it emerges is ultimately not important for this discussion. What is important, though, is everyone, regardless of how or when or why the self emerges, has a self-perception. Even people that are bad at thinking abstractly, they have a notion of themselves and themselves in the world, regardless of whether or not they can think about the abstract, complex notions of what that means. And they're probably better off not having to fucking think about any of this. I gotta be honest. Thinking about this shit, I mean, if you get it down and you do it good, it's probably, I know for a fact, having a strong self-conviction and self-perception and a very potent internal narrative can cause you to do fucking insane, crazy, awesome things. But it's kind of a, what happens when that fades? What happens when you hit things that you weren't expecting? What happens when the man you're looking at doesn't seem like the man that you are, or the man you want to be, or some other secret third thing? I don't know. There was another point I was going to go there, but never mind. It's, how do you put it? Again, I feel like a lot of the conclusions I've been reaching lately are that thinking about this stuff is kind of not a good idea, but, there are certain people like me, you can't really avoid thinking about it because it will eventually just start fucking really bothering you. You can't drink your way out of it. I've tried. You can't. You can't ignore it. You have to eventually fucking look at it and figure it out. And the question for me really began in the winter and then going into summer, because I've had similar issues. Those the context is different because in the winter there really isn't much to do. You're basically just waiting for spring and summer so you can do things. And then, spring and summer comes, and I had the same issue last year. The exact same fucking problem is, what am I doing? Why am I getting out of bed? What's the point of any of this? And really, the reason that this became an issue is that a large part of my internal narrative of, what I'm trying to do, the man I'm trying to be, what I'm trying to accomplish, comes down to trying to build this place, this farm, up into something that is self-sustaining, can produce more than it takes, and will be something that I can, hand off to the people that will be after me. The first strike to that was when I purchased that house in town for my friend and his wife, because it just ended up not things were too complicated. We weren't bringing in the money. There's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into it. That ended up being the most pragmatic thing to do for their family. So we did that. So that kind of took that off. Like, well, they're not even here. But that isn't necessarily in and of itself kind of like the killing blow to that. But then there's also the realizations I've had for being here for so long. It's fucking winter half the year. You can't grow, grains or most cereal crops. Really, the only thing for fodder you can grow for animals is hay. We don't have the right land for that. And sunflowers, which we are doing. But in terms of being, fully self-sustaining, I don't really think that's a realistic goal with this property and this area. But, and then the question is, like, does it make sense to go somewhere else? I really like living in Wisconsin. It seems like my home. I've been here my entire life. I haven't been here my entire life, but I've been in the state. And even though this place is a little bit different than southern Wisconsin, there's a lot of similarities. I do miss southern Wisconsin. I think it's cooler. The people down there aren't really anymore, but it is what it is. It's just how life works. But the way the world is, the way things are, you can keep chasing that your entire life. Like, oh, maybe I'll be better off if I go here and do this. Maybe I'll be better off if I do this and go here. Or maybe try to make the best of your current circumstance. And part of the reason why I'm not looking to move or do anything in a different area is because it's basically impossible. I don't have the money, nor will I ever have the money to basically move out of here. This is what I have, and I have to work with it. And I don't mind that, because it takes the kind of analysis paralysis out of the equation. It's no longer, okay, well, where do I go? It's, what's the best I can do with this? It becomes a much more consolidated question. And with my new buddy Adam, and with Gabe not working and all that, we've been talking a lot about it. But at the same coin, I don't have the internal narrative of trying to form something, the urgency. And I should have the urgency, because again, the way that farming works is you can't just like randomly start doing things at different times. You have to do certain things at certain times, or they don't get done, and you have to wait a whole year. Especially up here, because the growing season is so short. If you fuck that up, you basically can't grow anything for a year, or you're going to get diminished returns, things like that. I just got my garden in finally, what is it, 25th? So, like a casual 28 days in from last frost, which is cataclysmic here, because you get about 110, 115 days of no frost. So every day you waste, it's a problem. It's a bad thing. The animals only give birth once a year. So, you sit down, and this is one of those thoughts that originally motivated me was, if I live to be 70, which I mean, if I get that far, fuck, dude, I did something right. If I live to be 70, I came here when I was 23. That realistically means I have, I got to do math now. $37 chances of doing this correctly and figuring it out, despite having no one in my family that was a farmer or knows anything about this, basically just from reading books and getting tips from other people that I know that are farmers. It's kind of daunting, and part of that too kind of knocked a blow at me. I was like, is this really what I'm good at? Is this really for me? Sometimes, even though you want to do something, it's just not for you. It's for somebody out there, but it's not for you. And that really kind of struck me. I was like, yeah, I'm really not that good at this. Is it worth continuing to pursue it? I mean, I basically gave up everything and fucking moved here with that intention. Do I do something else? Am I going to regret if I stop doing it? It's there's so many different things that go into it. When you begin to doubt the narrative, like, okay, I'm the small farmer in northern Wisconsin that's trying to get by, to is this worth doing? Am I a fucking retard? Is this for me? Is this a good idea? And then you cross that with I have obligations to my church, my friends, now a guy on the land. I need to make a certain amount of money, which was not a factor before, in case everything goes wrong. Otherwise, everything's totally fucked. So then there's the question of, if you're blessed with a large income, is it worth dealing with that versus like putting more effort and time towards that, which is currently what I'm doing? Or is it worth sacrificing that for this, even though this isn't actually that productive and it's not actually something that I'm certain will be worth anything in 20 or 30 years? It's a tough question because I fucking hate money. I hate making money. I hate working. I'm really good at it. So, you know, hey. And at some point you have to just like, it's a confluence of all of these things, you know. And this is my whole thing with especially young men, you know, like me, getting older. I'm starting to realize that a lot of the folly of my youth, but youth is such a beautiful thing, don't get me wrong. It's why I have such a tough time even talking about any other shit, because it's like being young is so fucking baller, because you're so naive and everything seems so fresh and new. It can also seem dreadful because obviously you don't have everything seems immediate. So like if things are fucked up, it's like, oh, good, it's over. But it's never ogre, never. Fuck, man. The answer, which I'm trying to come to ultimately, is that you need to blend all of these things together. It would be awesome if I could go back to making $500 a month and living here and going through the struggle and all that shit. And, you know, with that same narrative, like, I gotta fucking do this to get by, you know, shit's getting expensive. You gotta fucking grow your own. As opposed to now, I make such an insane amount of money, I can basically fucking go buy whatever I want. It doesn't even matter. Literally, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's another thing that takes the wind out of the sails. You know, people, they like to think that, you know, having money is a great thing. I don't think it is. It just makes everything more complicated, because then it becomes a question of, okay, what's the best way to use this money? Should I save it? Should I invest it? Fucking, do I put it into this? Do I put it into that? How do I do charity? All this stuff. You know, the charity part is important if you're not a piece of shit. You know, I think that if you come into money for whatever reason, you should be thinking about those that are poor and disadvantaged. And, you know, being a member of a church and being religious myself, when I was struggling very hard, the patronage of people that were merciful to me in my faith really helped me out. So I think about that a lot, and I apply that towards how I use the extras of my money for other people. I'm not going to get into that though. But I kind of wish I didn't have to think about any of this. Working already takes up a lot of my time. I'm gone from here for 4 days out of the week. I come back for 3. I'm always fucking exhausted. You know, that's another thing about getting older. You still have the fucking energy. That part of that's my fault. I need to fucking, there's some stuff I need to do, but I'm not going to talk about that here. But it's just, it's, you know, it really is kind of like a, you know, midlife crisis thing. It happens to every fucking person. You get to a point, usually arbitrarily because of age, where you're like, what's going on here? And then everything just seems absurd. And I think I've done very well in that I haven't made any really crazy, irrational decisions as a result of my doubting of things. In a way, because my life has been very absurd in many ways, which eventually you kind of just learn to ride the wave, even when you're depressed and kind of fucked up. Another answer to the question, literally sometimes in my life, and I've said this before way back in fucking really old videos, sometimes the answer to the question, why am I waking up this morning, is because my life is ridiculous and I kind of want to see what happens next. Even if it's not good, it's just like, fuck it. Just take on the day. See what happens. And that's kind of the mode I'm in right now. You know, I'm very unmotivated. I'm trying very hard to apply myself to the farm, and I've got a lot of things spun up in the works, but because none of it seems genuinely important and I'm really doubting myself and my abilities, it's really putting a damper on everything. I'm getting older. I have some physical health problems that I'm figuring out how to deal with. All that shit. The shit I talked about before with the alcohol. I'm not going to get back into that. It's a lot. It's daunting. I'm just glad that things aren't jeopardized. I'm fine. It's just I kind of and I've talked about this with people, and I'm now wondering about my interpretation of it. The emergence of the self and the continuity of the self. Where's I going with this? This happens to me a lot. Part of why I have a difficult time believing there is such a thing as an emergent self, that is something that is inborn, that you discover, and like that's the self, is that I never see anyone that is the same, or like externally or internally, for their entire lives. If it was the case that you find a thing in you that is the self, wouldn't it be the same for your entire life? Because it was there to begin with. Maybe it would develop in ways, but I'm skeptical of that idea. Like I said, I don't want to go into the philosophy of the self because it's fucking past the purpose of this video. But am I really just rambling about nothing? I feel like my channel slowly turned into Seinfeld. Some of you may be enjoying that. I don't really know. I'm kind of enjoying it. I enjoy not pretending like I have the answers, because I fucking don't. Like, I'm just kind of rambling about stupid shit, and I'm hoping some people relate to what I'm saying. So that's my admission. I don't fucking I'm giving you the fucking Socrates. I'm wise enough to know I don't know shit. I'm trying to figure this all out, man. Fucking in your 20s, because you're an idiot, you think you have the answers. You think you know why it is. You think you got it figured out, and everyone else is stupid. Fuck them. And it's like, oh, I didn't really have it figured out now, did I? Oh, fuck, man. Part of it, too, is I understand how simple life can be. And I think that's really what's aggravating me. Life really is simple. It's as simple as getting by, having good food, having great friends, probably having a lover. I don't know. Probably not going to happen to me. I don't really care anymore. Whatever. And all that shit, and it's the beauty of life emerges around those things, exuent to it. But it's the way it's not even a modern problem, but it is exacerbated by certain modern things. Everything is so fucking abstracted that having to deal with it just takes away from all that shit. Like the time in my life where I felt genuine happiness and contentment, I'm not going to say for the first time, but maybe for the first time as an adult, and possibly the last time, honestly, if I'm being fucking totally honest, was when I first came here, and it was like a totally blank slate, and I was like, I can literally do whatever the fuck I want. But of course, life isn't like that. Again, if you have any responsibilities, if you have anyone that fucking depends on you or relies on you, or you have any scruples, it ends up becoming complicated. And I guess really another thing too is just counting your blessings. Again, I don't really have any actual problems. It's all in here. All my fucking problems are right now. So sometimes, again, you got to embrace the absurdity. It's like, it's really not that bad. Everything's fine. But that chutzpah, that energy, it's not there anymore. So you got to figure out what you're going to do. I'm talking to myself. I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking to me. This is like looking in a mirror and talking to myself in the mirror at this point. There's no lesson from this video. Well, maybe there is for you. I don't fucking know. I'm doing this for me. This is for me. It's for the Algebratoviches in the world. All 5 of them. I think not taking yourself too seriously is another important one. I think that's a lesson I'm being forced to learn right now. I've been guilty of that for most of my life, taking myself way too fucking seriously. And I think I'm being humbled in a way because I am a very common, basic man, and I'm not very skilled, or I'm pretty much average in every way, if you really think about it. And I mean that in every way. There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. It's just sometimes you read too many fucking books about knighthood and chivalry, and you turn into Don Quixote for a little bit. It's just the way it goes. Everyone's guilty of that. Don't pretend like you're not. Doesn't have to be knights and chivalry. It can be fucking whatever else. Just a thought. Is it worth going on about anything else anymore? And I covered most of it. I don't really know what the point of this video was. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.